Hello everybody and welcome to yet another brand new LP. And today we're going to be doing Ratchet and Clank, the reboot one. Now, as far as I remember, I tried doing this Let's Play already, and it didn't go so well the first time I tried doing it for some reason. I don't know why. I think it was around the time when I was doing a bunch of Ratchet stuff, and I just didn't feel like doing this one, because I thought about a few levels, and I'm like, I don't feel like doing it. And then also at the same time, we were also doing a Let's Play of this on my friend's channel before, which we did end up finishing. So I think around the time I realized that I can't do it without making a new save file. I think I just kind of gave up on it and said, screw it, whatever. I mean, I did make like a save through like cloud and stuff, but other than that, now I'm basically free roam to do whatever I want. And, you know, since I've been playing a lot of Ratchet games, figured why the hell not. And I feel like, at the same time, with all the super genius stuff we've been doing, I kind of feel like I kind of owe you guys something of my own accord this time. So, I've been wanting to do this one for a while. Why not? I like Ratchet Reboot. I like it enough. There's certain aspects of it I don't really care for, as in certain levels, like the flying levels and stuff, but it's mostly about it. And just as a pre-warning, this will not be 100%. We're not doing challenge mode. We might not even get the Rhino. Okay, off to a great start. Game's already sending me into the pits below. Well, it looked like it bounced me back, and then I fudged that up, actually. I fell off the pit, to be fair. But yeah, like I said, it might not be 100% or anything like that. I don't plan on it. I don't think we have Rat Boots already, do we? No, I did not think. Magna Boots. Sorry, got the wrong name of them. Yeah, it's kind of a great start to a Let's Play. The moment I decide to just jump off and die. That's always a good sign. Okay, so I'm going to be probably comparing this game a lot to Ratchet 1, because I really, really like Ratchet 1 a lot. And one thing I can definitely say for sure, I tend to kind of give Reboot, I'll talk about that in a second for the controls, but one thing I don't really like that much is how your character just sort of kind of, when you swing your wrench, like I'll stand right here and hit square, like yeah, Ratchet goes forward, but you see that second swing, he sort of just leaps and targets towards something, and I know, like, technically it's a bit of a better system to have than it was in the first game, because some people might consider the first game to be really clunky. Although, I agree and I disagree. I personally like it. I don't find it to be super clunky. Some things are a little clunky, like the strafing, but for the most part, I mean, I still love Ratchet 1 regardless. And the wrench combat is one of my favorite parts of Ratchet 1, and I'll probably bitch and moan about that soon anyway. About how much I love... I'll bitch and moan about how much I love the wrench combat. The Lombax wrench combats. That didn't rhyme very well, as I thought it would. The point is that Ratchet Reboot changes a few things, but it's also just a really good and solid controlling game, I feel. It's just, like I said, the wrench thing is kind of a little weird, but other than that, this is my favorite version of like what a modern Ratchet game should be. And that's the thing I want to talk about too, is I was kind of moaning about it yesterday to myself, or the day before I think it was, where modern Ratchet, because I was like, oh man, I want to play a modern Ratchet game, but then I had to think to myself, like, what's considered a modern Ratchet? Like, which one do you consider modern? Because there's different modern Ratchet games. Like, Rift Apart is the latest one. That's the most modern Ratchet game there is. And then Ratchet, like... Shit, I forgot that... That also activates it, too. Yeah, modern Ratchet has, like, the Future Saga. So, you know, of course, TOD and such. TOD, Crack in Time, Nexus, things like that. Those are very... Those were the original modern Ratchet games for the time. And I've always talked about how much I used to love Crack in Time. I thought it was the better one. I keep hitting circle to whip out the weapon and not just use the weapon. I keep thinking that I can just... I forget that the weapon gets used if you happen to hit circle. So, yeah, there's the Future series, which took the games in a bit more of a modern turn, but they've kind of been a little outdated in my opinion too. And then there's the reboot version, which is the one I'm playing right now, which in my opinion is the solid version of how to play a Ratchet game. And except for like maybe some of the weird sort of like wrench targeting system that I don't really care much for, pushing you in a direction, or not really pushing you in a direction, but just see that automatic like zip toward the enemy thing. That's what I don't really care much for. I like to be in full control as much as I can. Anywho, so, oops, I've been playing so much Secret Agent Clank. I forgot that D-pad does not let you strafe. Now, strafing in this game is now done by just a regular method of aiming and shooting, which is fine. So anyway, back on topic. Rift Apart, even though it's the newest game that we have, what I don't like about Rift Apart is the guns and how they feel. And that's the modern Ratchet that I don't care for. Because I feel like the blaster gun in that game is just a really simple, like, gross feeling automatic weapon, rather than it feeling like a classic blaster. Which, at least in this game, I feel like they give you the feeling of having a classic blaster again. Something, again, akin to the Combustor from, like, Ratchet TOD and such. Which, even then, I'm not really a big fan of Combustor anyway. What the hell's Clank doing? He's so weird. The Clank sections have been updated a ton. I will give them that. I will give them a lot of credit. These are a lot better than they were in the original game. I don't care much for the original Clank sections. I think they were annoying. Which makes me wonder, though, did they make Clank sections on the fact that, like, they used to have Sparks sections back in Spyro? Yeah, see, okay. I was aiming toward the boxes. Look at this. I'm hitting square toward the boxes, but yet I'm locking... I mean, yeah, the icon above it is right there. So, of course, Clank is going to warp directly to it because there is the icon still intact. I get that. But what bothers me, though, is, like, there's boxes right there. I want to hit those boxes. I wish picking up the bomb was done or performed by me actually physically touching it with my hands. But these, okay, so that's something I don't like about, I guess, the modern reboot Ratchet is just the... I forget what it's called, but the... Not the Zap 2, but something else. Like the control where it makes you just teleport to something immediately. And it's like, I feel like I'm losing control of that. But I like the guns in this game, and I like the way this game kind of plays. But we'll see if I change my mind through it, because now I'm playing by myself. I can kind of formulate my own opinion about how it feels. That sort of thing. So. And don't mind the fan from a computer in the background. It just does that sometimes. Sometimes it's fine and nice to me, but I guess today it decides to be a dickhead, so... I might have to get like a new... I need to find like a quieter fan and stuff, but... I feel like every fan I've ever had for a computer just never is very good. No matter what I do. Oh yeah, you can throw Gadgetbots onto the spring thing. I guess I didn't need to use him for that, but... Still though. Okay, Snap. That's the word. The Snap 2 things. In order to get that gold bolt... It's either we have to play Ratchet or there's something else I'm missing that I don't know about. There could always be something that I can go open with, like, maybe another... I guess Clank can do that. I completely forgot he could. I've been playing a little bit of Secret Agent Clank again, trying to get all the skill points and stuff for extra levels and what have you, but yeah, I don't know how to get that gold bolt right now, unless we come back as Ratchet. I think that's the case. Because that looks like a Ratchet jump, but I don't know. Kind of forgot that was even there. I would like to get all the gold bolts, but I don't want to have to do backtracking for things. That's the main issue. Another thing about Ratchet Reboot that they changed a lot of was they made this game a lot shorter. And I mean by a lot. Which is unfortunate, too, because Ratchet 1, for all its, you know, intents and purpose of it being kind of a long game, I do actually kind of like it being somewhat long-ish, too. That's not an aspect that I hate about it at all. And for those that are wondering, like, why do you like Ratchet 1 so much? You can't upgrade your weapons. It's pointless. The game is stupid. It's gross. It's dumb. I like the levels. I like the pacing. And I like the weapons, even though some of them I don't really care much for or use. But I like the idea that I don't have to use them. Which was something I was talking about myself before the other day as well, was Ratchet makes it to where eventually, like with Ratchet 2, sorry about the chair. With Ratchet 2 and on, you sort of kind of feel like if you're like me, you'll understand, where you kind of feel like you're forced to upgrade every weapon because, well, see, Insomniac made those weapons upgrade, from what I remember, because they want to make people use those weapons at least once. Because, like, when you look at Ratchet 1, I don't really use the decoy, I don't use the Mind Glove, I don't really use Agents of Doom all that much, or the Morph Array, or anything like that. So, making weapons upgrade does give you the reason of wanting to use those weapons and actually do something with them. Sure. But for somebody like me who likes to get things and likes to collect things, it starts to become a case of, now I just want to upgrade everything, including going out of my way to buy the Clank Zapper, to buy the shield or whatever, and then just upgrade all that stuff. And then it starts to get kind of soggy and really annoying. And then also, the fact that weapons just don't really last very long when they're upgraded. I keep thinking that for some reason D-pad is to strafe, but that's not the case. Yeah, so weapons just get outclassed pretty quick. Once you upgrade the Lancer and you get like halfway through the game, Lancer just becomes kind of dead weight at that point, and I don't like that. I mean, because then it starts to make it to where the feeling of being forced to use other weapons starts to become like, okay, well, I've already upgraded my Lancer, and not only that, but it does no damage. But now I'm stuck using the Spider-Bomb Glove. Like, I have no ammo on anything else because I've already wasted it, and it's not fully upgraded for the, the sniper or whatever. But now I have to use the Spider-Bomb Glove, which I don't want to use, to upgrade things, and that is where it gets annoying. I can go on and on about how, like, those aspects of later Ratchet games bother me, but, the real thing is, too, that I absolutely love Ratchet having an update, or an upgrade system. I will never take that away from Ratchet whatsoever. Ratchet games having the ability to upgrade was always the biggest thing for me back as a kid, and it still holds a nice place in my heart, of course. This system is very fun to play with. It's a very good system to play with. I'm just giving off my gripes that, as great as it is, it does have its drawbacks to some extent. And then when it comes to Ratchet 1, when I'm playing Ratchet 1, I don't have to worry about feeling like I have to use everything. I can just, whatever is useful for that situation, or whatever I like to use, the blaster, the bomb glove, or even my wrench. Just straight up using my wrench just because I like hack and slash games. I like beat 'em up games. So being able to hit enemies that also can just take a punch from a wrench and I don't feel like I'm doing nothing to them is good. And luckily in this game, they actually do give you that ability too. The wrench does have some viability to it, which is nice, especially for a modern Ratchet game. And it would be nice if more modern Ratchet games just let you use the wrench anyway. Because I kind of like having a little bit of variety every once in a while. Sometimes I like to run and gun, and sometimes I like to just hit things with a big stick, I kind of go back and forth, but that's just a me thing, too. So, and I don't want Ratchet games I don't want them to make a Ratchet game just to suit my playstyle. I'm just saying that it would be nice if it was there. Like, it wouldn't really inconvenience anybody. Like, oh, you can use your wrench as well as your weapons to do good amount of damage to enemies throughout the game. Then, if need be, make an upgradable wrench or something, Like we did in Ratchet 2, where you can just go pick up an upgraded wrench, but then even then, still, it's Ratchet 2. It still feels like it gets outclassed even before you get a chance to use the damn thing. And then because of Ratchet 2's upgrade system, there's really no point in using a wrench because Well, I want to use these weapons so I can get them upgraded, so I don't have to be weak and left behind the entire game. I think I just mostly have a hatred toward Ratchet 2, which is funny too because I really don't hate Ratchet 2 as much as I used to. I've actually grown to kind of respect it just a little bit more and actually like it a little bit more, but there's still things about it that I don't really care about. And there are times where people just, they question my opinion about it, saying like, you know, how could you possibly like Ratchet 1 over Ratchet 2? And then I said, you know, like, oh, well, I like Ratchet 1 because it's more of a platformer. And I like using the wrench. Which that's another thing, too, I forgot to mention, was I love the platforming in Ratchet 1. It's a bit janky, yeah, but I like the idea of being able to platform in that game. I miss when Ratchet was more about platforming along with being able to shoot things, which, yes, all Ratchet games are about platforming, I know. They're all platformers, and they all have shooting. To some extent, yes. But I like when I can feel as if these levels are designed with the concept of platforming in mind. Not just a set dressing that I can just run around in and shoot things with. That's what I'm getting at. And Ratchet 3, that's when it starts to become like, yeah, now it's just set dressing. There are levels there that are platform levels, but it's very obvious that some of them were made particularly for the multiplayer aspect, which that game, as far as I remember, was supposed to technically just be anyway, was a multiplayer type game, regardless. So, oh, I keep doing that. It does make sense for it to be like that, but yeah. And then what's funny too is like I also like Deadlocked, and people might say like, well, Deadlocked is nothing, literally nothing but shooting enemies. Yeah, and that's fine, because Deadlock's not a full-on regular Ratchet game. It's a lot different than that. It's a gladiator-based, mission-based game. So, I'm not playing a Ratchet platformer. I'm playing a Ratchet game with a ton of shooting. And Deadlocked, I'm fine with it. I know I complain about this stuff all the time, and I know it gets really annoying hearing it. But I like to talk about this stuff because, again, I'm super passionate about things. And I'm super passionate about Ratchet. And of course, if anybody likes Ratchet 2 and 3, I'm not just going to go on my way and say, like, oh, well, you suck for liking those because Ratchet 1's better than those games objectively. It's like, no, that's not true. Hell, I don't think Ratchet 1 is objectively better because of the fact that... God damn it. Fine. I don't think that Ratchet 1 is objectively a better game because of the simple fact that weapon upgrades are a big thing in a game like this. So, you know, being able to upgrade your weapons with experience points, not just getting a gold weapon. Which I like the gold weapon idea, but I will admit, though, I still love upgrading my weapons with experience points, so... I do genuinely like that aspect, and I don't want that to ever be taken away from Ratchet. I just like Ratchet 1 a ton, and sometimes prefer to play Ratchet 1 because sometimes I just like playing a very basic platformer. That's it. That's the only thing I can say, is just that sometimes it's nice. And I like how, at least with Ratchet Reboot, they do not take that away from you fully either. They do let you still have that platforming fun. Although there's a few levels that are missing. But they do let you have that platforming fun along with a more modern, updated gameplay system that does feel a little bit better and less clunky to play. Like, I can beat this guy with a wrench right now if I so chose. It's dangerous, it's a little bit risky, sure, but I can do it. And that is good. That's good game design to me, like letting me just have my fun. Without hurting anybody else, too, in the process. If people would rather have weapons that can upgrade, then, yeah, of course. I mean, I'm the same way, too. I like to have weapons that can be upgraded, too. And I don't want them to take that away from us, either. One thing that's always bugged me about recent Ratchet games is I feel like they started running out of ideas for weapons. And that was mostly... Like, Reboot, you know, Reboot uses a lot of the original weapons of the game. Like Bomb Glove, Blaster, but it's pretty obvious what they are. It's Combustor, it's Fusion Grenade, you know the trick. Well, the game like Rift Apart, I don't... Or even Nexus. Nexus and Rift Apart both. like, after Crack in Time, I feel like they started running out of ideas for weapon types. Or not weapon types, but just weapons in general. Like, just even anything new. Hell, I actually like the Chimp-O-Matic, believe it or not, when it comes to Crack in Time. And the thing is, too, like, I never want the weapon archetypes to ever disappear from Ratchet. I like having a flamethrower. I like having a blaster, a bomb glove, a sniper, maybe a secondary explosive weapon. Technically, Zircon has gotten old. I mean, Zircon, it's just an archetype from Ratchet 2. Or if you really wanted to stretch it, Zircon's kind of an archetype even back in, like, Ratchet 1 with, like, Agents of Doom. Because I think the Doom Glove was a thing in Ratchet 1, I believe. Yeah, I love Ratchet 1 so much, I forgot all the weapons about it. Look, there's a lot of these games. It's easy to forget. But yeah, like, Zircon has always been sort of the buddy sidekick thing. And then also turret guns and stuff, which eventually turned into, like, Tesla coils and something like that. Things of that nature. Like, you know, they tend to kind of change up the weapon, but they still retain the same archetype. And I don't mind that. And that's what I like about Crack in Time is, even though a lot of the weapons do still kind of still are the same sort of archetype we've had before, there's at least still a unique flavor for them as well that they end up using, and I like that. And I feel like for Rift Apart, which it's been a while since I've beaten Rift Apart, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if I go back and play it, I might change my opinion about it. But as it stands right now, the weapons in Rift Apart just don't do it for me. And hell, you would think that, like, oh, well, size matters, and Secret Agent Clank don't have really good weapons either, at least for the Ratchet side of things. Because those are just straight up, like, very basic versions of those same archetypes with maybe a few changes. At least the bomb glove in Ratchet Size Matters is a goddamn poison grenade thing. That's at least somewhat unique and a little different, and I like that. God, I love Ratchet games. They're so much fun. I might end up doing Crack in Time. Try that again. I might even end up doing Rift Apart for you guys. Nexus, maybe. Nexus is kind of a... I don't know. It wouldn't be bad just to check it out again, just to get a feeling of it. I have been wanting to do a marathon of these games. I have a lot of ideas for marathons, but I don't want to waste my time off doing something like that. But it's funny. I say it's a waste, right? But is it really a waste if I'm having fun? Not necessarily. Because I got a week off. I took off coming up pretty soon, a couple weeks. I want to just catch up on backlog stuff, do some chores around the house, things of that nature. Just think, in the original Ratchet game, you couldn't do this until you get the Hydro Displacer. No, not Hydro Displacer, the Hydro Pack. So they let you just do it now, which is pretty cool. And that's another change that I actually don't hate in this game either, and it fits perfectly for this game, is now you can get the Hydro Pack without having to pay for it. That's fine. I'm fine with that. You know? There are things, again, that I don't mind in terms of changes, but at the same time, I don't mind playing Ratchet 1 and even buying the Hydro Pack and waiting to get it either. It doesn't bother me nearly as much. Yeah, one of the... this is another idea that I'm glad they changed as well, was making it to where this section is not a cutscene anymore. They now made it to where it's seamless. So I think that's very good. And then also the Raritanium thing coming from, like... Well, technically, Ratchet 2 had Raritanium, and technically speaking, Ratchet 1 actually had Raritanium, believe it or not, as well. Yeah, I know. You couldn't use Raritanium in Ratchet 1 to upgrade anything. You could use it for 2 to upgrade your ship, and that's about it. But, yeah, for the idea of marathon idea, it's like a Ratchet marathon would be cool, but then at the same time, like, ooh, wouldn't it be cool if I also did Jack and I also did Sly Cooper with it? But then I'll get to Sly 4, and then I'll be like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I don't really like Thieves of Time that much. Guys, I've tried, I don't know how many times, 3 or 4 times, to try to get into that damn game. Every time I play it, I end up quitting, like, after a few Ancestors stories, and I'm just like, I don't feel like doing it anymore. Which is bizarre, because, like, the Sly Cooper Like, Sly 2 is a good game to me, except for a couple levels I don't care about. But for the most part, it's like a really good game. And I like playing it every once in a while. Same thing with Sly 3, it's still a pretty good game. But then every once in a while you get to those levels where it's like, I don't know, I don't feel like doing that one. And I just end up quitting it, so... yeah. Bad habit. Well, I've beaten the games before. It's not like I have to beat them again. I have considered doing Sly 3 on this channel because that's one of the games that I have not done in terms of Sly. And if I do any more Sly content, it will probably end up just being like Sly 3, and I'm probably not going to do Thieves in Time unless I actually do beat it finally. And then realize that, like, okay, maybe it's not really a bad game. Which I don't think it's a bad game, I just find it... in certain aspects, in certain areas, I tend to find it kind of boring. Certain levels just bore the hell out of me. I don't know why either. And the thing is, too, like, Thieves in Time is a good-looking game. Like, even for a PS3 game, it's still pretty high quality, I'd say. No idea what Ratchet's looking at, but I definitely know... no, I don't want to... I want to get these real quick. Yeah, a Ratchet Marathon stream would be neat, but I don't know. One thing we could try is a Ratchet Jack Sly Marathon stream, but co-op instead. That way I'm not just stuck playing things that either I don't want to play or whatever. You know, that sort of ordeal. And then at least with streaming, like it's a... oh, fuck, I forgot this in Navals. Something else, this is just me kind of talking about it, but... you know how, like, Ratchet 2 and on, they kind of... they do really feel like they're more space journeys than Ratchet 1. Weirdly enough, this is going to sound really weird, I actually prefer Ratchet 1's planets because of it not feeling like a space planet. It feels like a... it feels like an entire, like, big, giant... If anything, it reminds me of Spyro having the different realms to go through. It really just encapsulates the idea that, like, yeah, you are traveling through space, but I don't see that, and I don't feel that, and I don't mind that, because I'm not a big space guy. So, for me, it's like, ooh, I like these levels because they all look very... even though there's a lot of futuristic designs, sure, but I like the idea that, you know, we don't see these very often, these floating city things. Even though they're there. I guess it's one of those, I don't obviously see it right in front of me, like right in front and center. So to me, it doesn't really exist. It's like with the TOD levels, there's a lot of space stuff in that game. And again, I'm not like the biggest fan of space stuff. Depends on how you do it. The whole futuristic, spacey design has never really been my cup of tea. But if you can avoid making it all about that, then I would tend to like the game. A great example is Star Fox 64. That's a great game, and it's a space game, technically, too. And it never feels like I'm in space much, even though I technically am. But then games like Prey and stuff like that, like the 2017 version of Prey or whatever, that's the type of games that's like, I don't really care for that. Or Starfield, like, I don't really care for that. That's not for me. Ratchet TOD's secondary level or whatever is kind of the same thing. Well, I mean, even Metropolis and the first and TOD does give up, like, it looks like this a little bit. Which this is just a reboot version of this level, so it's going to look a lot more floating island, spacey type thing. But even then. Something else to keep in mind, too, is I actually do like Dead Space, even though it's a space game. Yeah, but you don't really get to see a lot of that space aspect either, so that's, again, another part of it that I don't necessarily... not like, I guess. I don't know, I'm very weird. Just keep in mind that my opinions are very weird, and I tend to be very opinionated, but I'll never go out of my way to say, like, well, you're fucking wrong for liking this, or whatever. If you play Anthem and you thought it was a cool game, if you play Destiny and you think it's a great game and will never die, I'm not just going to go out of my way to tell you, like, no, that's stupid, shut up, you're wrong. I'll just say, well, I tried Destiny, it's not for me. You know, I've played it back in the day for a bit. That's it. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with this channel, but Friends Without Benefits have a couple of people on that channel that my brother loves them, and he understands my disagreements with them are pretty harsh. But they have very, very serious opinions about things that I just cannot get behind. For example, Ouija the God, or Cade, he did a stream of him playing Danganronpa, going through the entire game with the intent to hate it, and coming out not liking the game because he just fucking hates it before he even got to play it. I think that's really cringe and lame. I mean, granted, like, you know, I kind of sometimes do that too. I try not to go with the intention of hating something, but I'll see something that looks kind of like, like that's clearly, obviously, not gonna be something I really want to play. If it has like an agenda behind it, or if it's just some weird Nepo baby game like Mixtape, I'm not touching that. You know, I refuse to touch something like that because that means I have to give that person money. I'm not gonna do that. Usually, I understand that you should separate the art from the artist, but it's a lot harder to do that when it comes to games sometimes, especially if those games in question tend to use a lot of their agenda in it too. And I don't like that. I can't really say if Mixtape is full-on agenda game, but it just doesn't... I'm not gonna... Yeah. I don't know. Nothing's black and white, and it's really hard to exactly describe how I should feel about things or how people should feel. I do agree with the sentiment that you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but sometimes that book's cover is just covered in shit. And it's like, yeah, if I touch that book, maybe there's a hidden gem behind there, but I'd have to wade through shit to get to that. And I'm just not feeling like it. No, the cursed pirate thing, ugh. Surprised they referenced that in this game. I've never seen that before. Shake your booty. Like, I do feel like if a game's coming out and you watch gameplay of it or whatever, you can kind of get an opinion about it. But if you're just going to hate a game, you probably shouldn't play it. If you're just going to go... If you're a content creator, you really shouldn't just go in with the intention of absolutely despising it, even though, like, a lot of people do that anyway. I don't know. But then again, I could just avoid watching that type of content, which is funny, too, because one of the people I do watch did play Mixtape for the sake of shitting on it, so I'm a hypocrite. I don't know. Like I said, nothing's black and white, and it's just... 'Tis for thee, but not for me, I guess. That's probably what I'm trying to say. I can get away with watching people shit on things and hate things, but you guys can't. Because that's wrong. And it's hard not to feel like that, too, because we're all relatively pretty selfish to some extent, so it's pretty easy to fall into that trap of thinking, like, yeah, people shouldn't have an opinion about things because it doesn't coincide with mine. Well, another thing to keep in mind, too, is this might sound a little bit... This sounds like it's extremely exaggerated, which, okay, yeah, it kind of is. I am kind of going a little bit more... What's the word? I don't know, nuclear or something. I don't know what you'd call it again, but, I am getting kind of a little doomsday-ish here with this, but I feel like games like Mixtape are going to ruin the gaming community even further. Because it's going to give people this idea that it's okay to make games that aren't games, which there's the whole thing about, like, visual novels are not games, but people consider them to be games. I consider visual novels to be games, but at the same time I consider them to be visual novels too. And I see them as a different sort of thing. But I still consider them a game. At least more of a game than fucking Mixtape looks like to be. even Until Dawn, you know, one of the things I don't really care about at all, still feels more like a game to me. But it's all relatively subjective, I guess, too. But I do honestly feel it's a little doomsday-ish, yeah, but I do kind of get the feeling like games like Mixtape are going to end up just devaluing games and making people think like, oh my god, that game is going to be just like we're getting another fucking Mixtape again. We're getting another Until Dawn game again or whatever. And games are just going to be movies all the time now. And I remember back in the day when Uncharted was out, and I thought it was really cool that we had a game that played like a movie. I was like, whoa, holy shit, like, this is really cool. I mean, even like Jak 2 and Jak 3, you know, those are very well-acted games and stuff, and good cutscenes all around. And Jak 1, but Jak 1, you know, it's a bit more basic, but hey, give it credit where it's due. I think they did a good job with the cutscenes in Jak 1, 2, and 3. It was pretty obvious where Naughty Dog was going at with the Jak games. They eventually are going to go into Uncharted and make those the way they are. And, you know, The Last of Us, the same thing. I love The Last of Us 1. But at the same time, they didn't take away from me playing a game. Another thing, too, with visual novels I want to say as well is, if I'm going to play a visual novel, I damn well know I'm going to play a visual novel. That's the thing, though. That's why I can still kind of consider it somewhat of a game. It's like, yeah, I didn't get a chance to get up. I know for a fact that, like, when I go to play a visual novel, I already know what I'm getting myself into. I know I'm not going to get to play a game. I'm going to get to read and stuff. And I'm fine with that. But when you make a game that wants to be this, that, and the other, and it doesn't really work very well, and it's pretty cringe, then it's like, okay, I don't know. Basically, I'm just going to end off with this, saying that I don't think the game looks very good. I watched it. You know, I've seen the story of it. I hate it. I think it's really pretentious and annoying, but that's me. Which is funny, too, because I've been watching the Oni Boys playing through Yick again. I've died 15 times now. I'm starting to get old, man. I really am. I'm just some old boomer yelling at my TV to you guys about the good old days of gaming back then. Maybe I should have just played Ratchet 1 instead. Okay, so, do they still have the spawner guy in this game? I can't remember. The guy that spawns dogs and shit, because I think that's what's going on with me right now. I should have done a... I'm trying way too hard. I'm trying way too hard to play this game a specific way. It's not working. That's my issue. So yeah, I've been watching them play Yick, and it's like, I remember back then when the game came out, it looked really like super pretentious, which it is. There's a lot of pretentious shit in that game, but you know, maybe when I was watching the playthrough, I'm like, well, maybe it's not really all that bad of a game. At least it still has a bit of that somewhat fun-looking aspect. Okay, those guys are catching me off guard. That's what's going on. Then, hey, you know, I get to start over every time, but at the very least, guess what? I get to low up even faster, so that's pretty cool, I guess. I'm not usually this bad, I promise. I don't know what's going on with me. I'm not jumping as much as I should be doing. I'm getting hit by goddamn dogs. Maybe I'm not using my wrench as much, or I'm just not using cover to my advantage. Could be a number of things. Who knows? I'll just play better all of a sudden right now, because now I'm at least going through and doing things, and plus the bouncer just wipes out people. Like it's nothing. I don't know. I mean, my thing is, like, regardless of what game it is, I just want it to be fun. You know, even if it's a really shit game, like, I still want there to be at least some aspect of that's kind of fun. For example, I can't really say it's a shit game, because I never really grew up with it, but the people who made Shadow Warrior, if I'm not mistaken, I have one of their games on Steam, besides Shadow Warrior, of course. They made a game, I think it was called Reboot, or something like that. The Shadow Warrior remake people, by the way, not Shadow Warrior people, not 3D Realms, they're good, but the Shadow Warrior 1 reboot's pretty good, even though I never beat it for this channel, because I'm a loser, but hey, I do like it. You know, I like it quite a bit. I do think that reboot game, or whatever it was, hard reboot, I think, I couldn't really get into it, because it just kind of was weird to me. But at the same time, I can definitely see it having some type of fun to it, so I can respect it for that, even though I consider it kind of like a whatever game. But even System Shock 1, like the original one, or even the reboot too, is like, I can probably have my fun with it. Even though it does give me some gripe here and there, but I can definitely say that there's at least some parts of it that are kind of fun, and that's what I want out of a game, and I feel like, you know what's funny too, is even visual novels can be fun, believe it or not. Yeah, like the visual novels I read tend to be kind of fun things to read. But then you get like a game like Mixtape, and it's just clearly made for, well, one, not people like me, and two, who the fuck knows who it's made for. It gives me that feeling of, yeah, we're pretentious, we're trying too hard, and we hate gaming. That's another. I know I said I was gonna stop talking about Mixtape, but that's another thing I really hate about gaming nowadays too. Is people who tend to make games tend to hate them, and it's like, well, why are you here making games? Like, get the fuck out. It's the same thing with game journalists. Like, they want to be writers, so they end up just clogging up these fields that other people could be having, like people with actual good opinion, or not just like good opinions, but an actual opinion about gaming. You know, people that would probably actually play a game. Say like Some Call Me Johnny, for example. Like, he's great at what he does. He's a great reviewer. Like, you know, we could have more people like that, but unfortunately, it's being taken up by all these IGN douchebags and stuff, and people just ruining, you know, game journalist stuff. So, and then people like DSP, and then game devs looking at somebody like DSP and being like, yep, that's what the average consumer of games is like. They don't know what they're doing. They're too fucking stupid, so we have to hold their hand in every situation. Although you look at somebody like me that's died 15 times playing Ratchet Reboot right now, and it probably makes sense why God of War devs would make their game piss easy. Because they look at probably somebody like me and they think, wow, he sucks. Yeah, I suck, but I can learn from that. And that's fun to me. I want to get better. Although sometimes I will admit it does get a little irritating, of course, but I'm a lot more stubborn than it looks. I've kind of loosened up on that a little bit over the years, but I tend to be a bit more stubborn. So eventually I kind of just bang my head against the wall, and eventually I get through something. If it's an RPG, I'll go back and grind. Because that's usually the idea or the answer that I need. It's just like, oh, I probably should just go back and redo it. That's probably what I'm missing. If it's a hack and slash, I just need to get better. I just need to get better reaction times. I need to learn the parry times. I need to learn the blocks. Things like that. It's okay to beat my ass. Because I won't learn if you don't. And I won't get better at that. Oh my god, I hate the fucking switching in this. It's so annoying. Yeah. Just let me lose every once in a while so I can learn from my mistakes. I'm not saying it needs to be incredibly tough. And see, another thing too is like that right there. What happened right there was, guess what I did? I fell off. How did I fall off? Because I'm an idiot. That's it. There's nothing more. There's nothing less. You could say like, well, they shouldn't have put a pit between the trains there. Well, why wouldn't they? I'm the dumbass that decided to jump across the pit, land straight into the pit, and die. That's not the game dev's fault. That's my fault for not realizing that that's there, and I'm doing the way I play Crash or Ratchet, where, you know, any platformer game, where I'm just trying to speed through it, instead of taking my time and actually thinking about things and not dying to things. But the good thing is, eventually I learned, like, oh yeah, I probably shouldn't do that. Which I didn't, as you can see, I didn't learn there, but, well, I did, and now I'm more confident. Now I can make that jump, and I'm fine. So, yeah. Man, I got a lot to say. I always have a lot to say. That's never going to change. Oh yeah, we don't have to do the infobot thing. Well, anyway, that'll be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed as much as I did. This was pretty good though, too, all things considered. I got a lot of progress done, actually. Like, we did a lot of stuff, guys. Like, a lot. Keep forgetting how to buy weapons. So, yeah, Actually, you know what? Next time we'll come back for that. Yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everybody.